A new level for Josh Hart may soon be unlocked as it appears the New York Knicks do-it-all Swiss Army knife will be working with JJ Redick over the summer, and Redick had a ton of high praise for Josh Hart, and we're going to break this thing down. So what's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to jump right into the video as we always do, because JJ Redick had some really high praise for Josh Hart on his Monday show, The Old Man and the Three Things, that he does with Tim Legler, and they just kind of talk about the current state of the NBA, kind of exactly what's going on. It's really a great show to give a deep dive into like the big storylines that don't really get talked about and things you might miss if you're just scrolling through Twitter or if you're just watching your home team's games. However, Josh Hart did come up, so if you're a Knicks fan, which you most likely are, why would you be looking at this? He gave some hype to Josh Hart. Now, here's what he said. He ends up with basketballs he has no business ending up in regards to Josh Hart's rebounding. And he also said that he's going to work with Hart on his shot this summer and that they've already committed to each other. Now, we know that JJ Redick and Josh Hart are friends. They've known each other for a little bit. JJ Redick lives in Brooklyn with his family, and Josh Hart obviously lives in New York. And they have worked out in the past together. There's this video where JJ Redick's son, his older son, challenges Josh Hart to a three-point contest. And JJ Redick's son beat Josh Hart in that three-point contest. Now, obviously, Josh was not, like, fully locking in. He was laughing throughout it, having a good time. But still, we know that if there's one thing in Josh Hart's game that there is still a glaring weakness to, it's his three-point shooting. And that has not always been the case. There have been times where Josh Hart has been an elite three-point shooter and really just a 3-and-D player overall. He's played a few different roles in his career. He's been on multiple teams. He started out with the Lakers, ended up going to New Orleans, then got traded as part of the CJ McCollum deal to Portland, where he was averaging 20 points per game, and then later got traded to the Knicks in the Cam Reddish deal. And that trade obviously benefited the Knicks so much. The Knicks were around 500 when they traded for Josh Hart, and it felt like the one thing that they didn't have was that sort of Swiss Army knife guy who's rugged, who's going to do anything it takes to win, who kind of gives that Draymond Green vibe, something that all teams need to kind of really be a great team in the NBA. You need the guy who's not afraid to do the dirty work, who's going to talk some trash, who's going to be loved in the locker room, who's always going to be a voice, someone that people just trust and they really like. Josh Hart has filled that role perfectly with the New York Knicks, whether it's been as a starter or off the bench. And recently, with all the injuries, he's been starting. And once again, last night, he went for a triple-double, where he finished with 11 points, 14 rebounds, and 10 assists. And something that you may have noticed from this game, or any of the games where Josh Hart is getting a triple-double, is that JJ Redick is completely correct. Josh Hart just flies in out of nowhere and will get every single long rebound there is, especially on offense, though this goes both ways. So Josh, more than anything, I mean, he's only 6'4", 6'5". He's like around my height. And whenever I've met an NBA player, I've been like, oh my God. Like, they're quite tall. So Josh Hart, also not the most, he's not the least athletic, but he's not the most athletic player on the court. But he manages to just get all the long rebounds. He just does the dirty work for the Knicks. And now it seems as if he's going to be working on that three-point shot this summer, which would just make him the perfect role player for a team like the Knicks, but really for any team that wants to contend for a championship. And we know that with the trades the Knicks have made over the season, whether it was trading RJ and IQ for OG, whether it was making the Burks and Bogdanovich trade, which involved trading Quentin Grimes, we know the Knicks are all in on trying to win sooner rather than later. Obviously, the Burks and Bogdanovich trade has not worked out in the sense of they have not been great role players for the Knicks, but Bogdanovich does have that contract, which is a tradable deal, which is kind of where the Knicks have always been going. They wanted to get something in return for Fournier's contract, and now they're going to be able to opt into Bogdanovich's $20 million and use him as a trade chip over the offseason into next season if they find a star that they really want to trade for, or they can just trade for another tradable contract, just keep deferring. Leon Rose does defer things a lot. He waits for his moment to strike. He's done that multiple times before, and it's always worked out in the New York Knicks' favor. So I just blindly am going to trust Leon at this point. But Josh Hart absolutely has a chance to just become damn near an all-star talent outside of the fact that he's a bench player. Because if you look at his stats on the season, they're not the best, but they're also good. Like, he's putting up 9 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists. He's doing what the Knicks need out of him, but also he's been thrusted into this starting job with the entire Knicks front court being out with injuries. Whether it's Mitchell Robinson, Julius Randle, or OG Anunoby, there's a lot of things that means the Knicks are missing, but the biggest one is rebounding because 2 of your 3 best rebounders in Mitchell Robinson, in Julius Randle are out. Josh Hart has picked up the slack nicely, and since the All-Star break, he has put up 13 points per game, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists. Now, he's still only shooting 29% from 3, so his three-point percentage has not gone up, but his general stats have. He's just shown that in the starting role, he's just going to do all that dirty work. He's going to get everything done correctly, and that's so massive for the Knicks, especially when considering if he could get that shot back. And it's not like he's never been a good shooter. He's had seasons where he shot 40% from 3. The man has the ability to be a good three-point shooter in this league, and with that in mind, he could be the Knicks' 6th man. A guy who should almost certainly be an NBA starter, certainly a starting level player in the NBA. He would be one of the best 6 men in the NBA for the Knicks. He'll probably be contending for 6th man of the year next season as long as everyone's healthy and he's not in the starting lineup. But there's a reason why Thibodeau loves this guy so much. He just will get the job done. He will do anything to win a game. Josh Hart is just a winning player on a winning team in the New York Knicks. And that is so massive to have, especially when considering the Knicks do still want to trade for another star. They're not going to be as deep as they are right now once they make a trade for a star. They could lose another role player in the process, whoever that is, whether it's Bogdanovich or maybe someone more important, or maybe with the Hartenstein-Mitchell Robinson situation, they lose one of them. Maybe they end up losing Precious Achiuwa. Josh Hart's role is going to increase even more when he's coming off the bench next season, because it's hard to imagine that the Knicks could trade for a star player, then retain all the guys that they have right now outside of whatever player, Bogdanovich, that they trade for that star. So Josh Hart would certainly need to play more minutes and have a bigger bench impact than he already has. This also will matter for the playoffs because, as we know, as long as everyone's healthy, Josh Hart will be the 6th man. They'll also have Mitchell Robinson and Deuce McBride taking up a lot of the minutes. So they're going to need Josh Hart to just do Josh Hart things. And it would just help so much in that 8-man rotation if Josh Hart could consistently knock down threes. Now, he doesn't have to be hitting 40% of them, but he has to be hitting around 35, 36. That would do so much for the Knicks bench consistency because you do still have to worry about Knicks bench shooting going into the playoffs. Obviously, Deuce is now shooting 40% from 3. He's just figured out how to become one of the best shooters on the team. But outside of him, there's not that much shooting on the bench unit with the way Burks and Bogdanovich are playing. Precious will probably get that 9th man spot in the rotation, which will be like 8 to 10 minutes a game. And he's not really a great shooter. So we could certainly see the Knicks bench kind of struggle to hit some threes. And even the Knicks in general, probably one of the worst things about them is they don't have a ton of three-point shooters. Now, they have a few great three-point shooters. Brunson and DiVincenzo are both tremendous. OG Anunoby's a good three-point shooter. Julius Randle can get hot. Obviously, Deuce. But outside of that, there's not that much three-point shooting on the roster. And with that in mind, the Knicks are going to need some internal growth, and that's where Josh Hart comes in. And as we know, Josh Hart has recorded his 6th triple-double of the season, which joins Walt Frazier, Michael Ray Richardson, Richie Guerin, and Julius Randle as the only Knicks with at least 6 triple-doubles in a single season. Now, Richie Guerin was the best player the Knicks had for the first 20 years that the NBA was a thing. Walt Frazier, in my mind, is the Knicks' GOAT. Michael Ray Richardson has had his real great moments with the team before some extracurricular activities, we'll call them. You can look him up yourself. Kind of distracted his career. And then Julius Randle is going to get his number retired for the Knicks, and it's one of the greatest Knicks of all time, like it or not. And if you also look right here, Josh Hart is not just an on-the-court threat. He is taking people out off the court. Monty Williams did not want to talk about Dante DiVincenzo's shooting. He said, I don't care about their team. I couldn't care less. Those guys, the way they got those threes, I don't want to be a part of that story. To which Josh Hart said, if he didn't want to be part of the story, he should have told his guys to defend better. Do not mess with the New York Knicks or Josh Hart will come at you, is what we know, both on and off the court. You don't mess with Josh Hart, man. And Monty Williams has been talking a lot about the New York Knicks. He's been hating on them. Josh Hart hears it and just buried him. Monty Williams, maybe if you tried a little harder at your job, you wouldn't be coaching the worst team in the NBA. Guys, comment down below your thoughts on this. Let me know how you think this could impact the Knicks. Just give me your general thoughts in the comments. Come talk to me. Have a great day. Like and subscribe. Go Knicks.